As a non-coach, I'm listening for things that I can use in my career as a teacher. Also, I do some volunteer counseling as a layperson in my church. So there are a lot of things that stood out. But I think in answer to your question, I told Matt this recently, Dave. Uh, I was particularly struck in Paul Wyman's episode toward the end. He talked about how he liked to share with maybe it's with his coaches, but he was referencing it more toward young people. And we have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. The 19-year-old's a boy, and the 16-year-old's a girl. And he mentioned about how he tries to encourage people to make sure they're finding a career that's a good fit for them. So that's fresh in my mind, thinking about that from his episode, because as parents, we have this, I think this stewardship, this responsibility to try and guide our precious children in the right direction. And even though he wasn't really speaking to parents, I took it that way because I'm eager for both of our kids to keep cultivating passions and also figure out during college, or as they're preparing for college, as they're in college, which passions do you pursue as a hobby and which passions do you pursue as an actual career. And it's just such a tricky time when you're 19, when you're 16, to be thinking ahead to the future.
Welcome to Leadership, the Secret Sauce, the podcast where we talk to extraordinary coaches and leaders to dive into the realms of leadership and coaching. We're your hosts, Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. So let's jump in with another guest and find out their answer to the question, what is your secret sauce? Before we begin, a quick shout out to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting, where they believe that your character is the compass guiding you through life's journey. Whether you're facing personal or professional challenges, they are dedicated to helping you discover and strengthen the core values that define who you are. Dave, what is this review episode all about?
This episode is where we get to review and reflect on a season of podcasts. And to help us do that, we have the Chief Executive Officer of Character Matters, Allie. So let's give it up for Allie.
Hello.
Nice. So, Allie, for those of you who don't know, it's my wife, and we invited you in to actually kind of help us in just thinking about the season 2. So, do you want to take it away?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. We listeners are so glad that this podcast exists to give coaches and the rest of us community, as well as a place to engage. And our hope is that this recap will perhaps give you some new tools for your toolbox. Thank you for listening today. I have the privilege of asking the two hosts some questions so that the listeners can hear from both of these excellent coaches today. And I'm going to start out with their signature question. I'll start out with Dave. Dave, what's your energy level today? No decimals, please. Just your straight energy level.
Thank you for asking, Allie. My energy level's at an 8.
And Matt, what about you?
Yeah, 8. I feel so
Okay.
compelled to actually add a decimal, but I won't.
And I feel like he copied me.
That's probably
Yeah.
true.
Thanks for asking. I'd say my energy levels at about
Oh yeah, that's right. Hey, Allie, what's your energy level?
my energy is probably at a 9. I'm feeling really good today.
Great.
What has you at a 9, Allie?
Well, it's cold here in Texas. That's kind of invigorating. And it's Friday, and there's much fun to be had this weekend. Our daughter's in a basketball tournament, and so far they're 2 for 0. So Go Eagles.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Go Eagles. I'll be rooting.
All right, here's my next question for you guys. And this is again one of your signature questions. This time I'll start with Matt. Again, this is so the listeners can get to know both of you guys a little bit better. Matt, when you're flying on an airplane and somebody asks you what you do for a living, what do you say? And as a bonus, remind us what you think your secret sauce is and when did you know it?
Mm. Well, that's like a triple question. I don't know if that's really, can we do that anymore? Okay, here it is. I tell them I'm
You can do it.
a leadership coach, primarily focused on oil and gas, or even just sort of other sort of manufacturing type of leaders. And let's see, when I think about my secret sauce, now I have actually documented it as energy, because I feel like I bring a lot of energy, and future questions like, hey, let's think about this. A lot of focus
You do.
on what's next. And it's probably because I don't like to spend a lot of time focusing on the past. I like to think about the future. I think there's more promise there, and some of it I can't really change. So as a coach, I like to help people think about something that they're not usually focused on. They're usually focused on the week, the last quarter, or whatever problem they had. So I don't know. How about you, Dave?
So yeah, you want all three questions?
All
Okay.
three questions,
Can I put a
please.
comma in between them? Okay.
Yeah.
So first question was it secret sauce? When I'm flying, introduce. Okay. Excellent. Yeah. And it's I don't fly as much as I used to, which is interesting because the thing I loved the most about traveling was actually talking to the people next to me on airplanes. So I'd always be interested and first I'd be trying to read like, is that a person who wants to talk? Is that a person who doesn't want to talk? They put their headphones in right away. But if they ask me, I say I'm a coach and teacher. And then if they ask me what that is, I would explain. With coaching, I ask questions, and with teaching, um, it's interesting. I don't advise, but I think I facilitate discussion with teaching. But I do think like there are areas that like most of the teaching I do now is for coaches. So I'm teaching coaches to ask better questions, be more present. So that's pretty much my focus there. And then comma the next question was secret sauce.
Yes, yes, please tell us.
Okay, so my secret sauce I believe to be um, positive energy. So I bring in positive energy to, and I attempt to bring in positive energy to every room and conversation that I enter. And with that, I try to promote curiosity. And if it works, great. Doesn't always work. Sometimes people have to be ready for that or interested in that.
And when did you know that about yourself?
Um, this is interesting because we might have to have a deeper therapy show on this one. I think like when I was younger, my friends liked to talk to me, and like my and it was and this might be for everybody, but it's like, oh, like I can go talk to Dave, like at least have a positive outlet look on something. And like I think it is less judgment and more curiosity. So I think I knew when I was younger that that was my focus, and people like that. So if they like that, then maybe they like me, and everybody, well, I want to be liked. My cup says so. Exactly.
I have two more to add. I think,
But wait, but before you ask, Allie, what is your secret sauce?
Dave, that's so nice of you to ask. I think I have three. My first one is savory. It's a Trader Joe's product, and it's called garlic aioli mustard sauce. No, this is in jest, but I thought it
Man,
would be fun to play a little prank on you guys. I have three special sauces from Trader Joe's, so this is kind of a product endorsement today. In seriousness, you need the aioli garlic mustard sauce from Trader Joe's. It takes every sandwich from bland to scrumptious. My second secret sauce is chimichurri sauce from
These are
Trader Joe's
actual
also.
sauces.
I know, and this sauce is fantastic with grilled fish, grilled meat. It has garlic. It's out of this world, and it's, as a chef myself, it takes too long to make it. It's a wonderful store-made product. The last item is sweet for all of you sweet lovers. This is the only way to do cranberry sauce. Third product from Trader Joe's. It's a cranberry orange relish sauce. I like a raw relish rather than a cooked relish at Thanksgiving time. But if you score this at Thanksgiving time, have it on your yogurt. It will take your yogurt from bland to scrumptious. Voila. Those are my three secret sauces.
I like the sauces, and I'm wondering is do you take that with you for conversations? Do you have like those three different?
Well, a lot of friends know that I'm an unofficial Trader Joe's queen, and so we've been shopping there for 25 years plus, and there's a lot of good items there. When I'm not the CHO, maybe someday I'll be a Trader Joe's employee. We'll see.
I don't think we've ever had anybody do that, Dave.
That
Yeah.
absolutely was unique contribution and potential additional sponsorship.
But I have two more observations as a frequent listener, longtime lover of both of you, and that is that I think that Dave has another secret sauce, which he may or may not be aware of, and that is an excellent conversationalist. So for all the devoted season 1 and season 2 listeners, you've heard Dave seamlessly wind the conversation together, and I really appreciate that about you, Dave. The other thing I really like with Matt, another secret sauce I've observed, is laughter and humor. I think that's added a lot to not only the podcast, but your coaching. So don't forget to include those when you guys do your humble brags. You guys ready for question 3? We'll keep it light. This is the question you guys often ask others. What is your current walk-up music?
My current walk-up music? Let's see. Well, I would say Dave probably doesn't know this, but my favorite oldies song is by a lady by the name of Jean Knight, Mr. Big Stuff. And that, I think, actually, as I sort of go a little retro, that is my walk-up music.
Dave, what about you? Yeah, tell us.
Yeah, I have there's two. There's Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, which is the message in the song I love, which is your future is unwritten. You write the next part of your story. And then the other one is Let's Get It Started by the Black Eyed Peas, because it's kind of like motivational music for me.
That's awesome.
What's yours, Allie?
Well, mine is a little bit unusual, but it has to do with my roots and where I'm from. My walk-up music is Can't Touch This by MC Hammer. And that's because I love that I grew up in Oakland and I love the beat. Go Dave. And I always smile when that song comes on. Okay. Guys, on to a serious question. This is a question that you always ask your guests. And the question you ask is, what do you want in a coach? What's really important to you? Matt, you want to start? Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll start. Yeah, sure. Yeah. Um, I think uh, since I have a coach right now, I think the thing that is most important to me is that the coach be willing to challenge me in a way that I can hear it. So, and if he can connect a dot in some way, shape, or form with what I've said in the past, that's even better. Like I find that to be an even better quality. So,
Dave, what about you? What are the qualities that you are really important to you in a coach?
Say it again. The qualities that are important to me
Important to you in a coach,
in a coach.
when you're being coached.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I think I do need a coach that will call me on my delusions, or actually I should say it differently. Will help me question my beliefs and question like some of my assumptions. I like that, and then I do want a coach that will help me hold myself accountable to what I choose to do. Oh no, I want a coach that brings multiple sauces,
Oh,
preferably actual products from Trader Joe's.
preferably,
Yeah.
yeah.
multiple sauces.
Well, what I was going to say is that it was a true pleasure to hear all of the guests on season two. I really enjoyed the variety of people, from different backgrounds, different ages, different careers. Um, there are a few questions that I came up with, inspired by a few of the guests. And the first one was inspired by Corinne's episode. And she had a challenge, and her challenge was to choose your hard, if you remember her saying that. And so, if you could think of what choosing your hard means for 2025, what's your answer when you hear that?
I, well, Dave, you want to actually start with that one? What's your heart for 25?
Sure. Improve my internet connection, and then um, I think I have when you asked this, a few things came to mind. One is my hard is say less, mean more.
Hmm.
Like say less, mean more. As in I think more silence, more listening. So I'll start with that, and then I'll let Matt go, and we'll try to uh, address my first hard, which is improving my internet connection.
Okay. You know what? I actually, I think for me, I think even just as a small business owner or as a new business owner from just being in on my own for a year after retiring, um, I think it's actually hard to trust the process for, like the work will be there and the work is valuable to the client. Like, I think also the other thing is to trust that they will actually, the client will actually tell you where they want to go and what they're actually getting value out of. I had it just recently where somebody actually, a guy I've been coaching almost 7 months, we're just finishing, we just had our last session. And all of a sudden he said, I just want you to know this is how I've changed. And this is what I told my boss. And this is what she recognized was changing in me as a leader. And I think that that's like, um, I don't know whether I didn't have it in my previous work or I wasn't asking for it or searching for it, and maybe I wasn't listening for it is probably. So I, I think it's really kind of listening for the shift that the client has made. That's my choose my heart.
And why would you say that's hard though?
I think it's because it's slowing down long enough to really pay attention to how they're seeing themselves change.
Dave, how's the internet connection hard number one going? Are you ready to give us your hard number
Uh,
two?
yeah, no, I've on the first one, it's going to remain hard for this session on the internet connection. On the number two, in terms of the saying less, meaning more, of just being able to listen more in conversations and not always like uh, address anxiety with more words.
Okay, well, let's have a little bit of fun for a minute, and we will make the next question a little lighter. I was very inspired by Io's episode. What a positive attitude that guy brings. That was such an enjoyable episode to listen to. And one of the things that we had the treat of hearing were some of the items that are in his office, and we got to get a picture of Io in terms of his Black Panther and some other fun things behind him. So I was wondering if you guys could please choose 3 items in your office to share with us so that we can get to know you guys better. Maybe we'll start with Matt. You want to go first?
Dave's looking for his things. Let's see. Okay, so I have some pictures.
You might have to grab them and show us, or
Obviously,
just tell us.
yeah. I think just right behind me is a painting from John Singer Sargent. He's my favorite American impressionist. And just above that is a pamphlet that I got from when you and I were in Milan in 2002. So
At the
that's a
opera.
long time ago.
Yeah.
And then that was a very special time, unique. I don't know how it really I think it gets to know me because I do appreciate cultures. I think that's probably I like John Singer Sargent because I'm a fan. I would love to be an artist. If I would choose that, I don't really spend my time doing that, but I can appreciate that. And then last thing in the top left, I have 3 little antique pictures that my mom left that I got from her house when she passed away. And antiques are a part of my sort of like what I like. Just on the other side is a secretary that my mom left me that I had as a kid always looked at. It was in our dining room, and it just reminds me of her. And so, she certainly affected my
Mm-hmm.
life. I miss her. So,
Thanks, Matt.
mm-hmm.
Dave, let's hear from you.
It's a great question. First of all, Allie, thank you for asking it. And be prepared because we might ask you back that. So yeah, you need to start looking around. So the first one is my dad's dog tags. And it's not only in my room, but it's in,
There you go.
I don't know if you can see that. He fought, he passed away a few years ago. I also miss him, Matt. Like, his voice is in my head a lot. But the dog tags are for when he fought in Korea in 1951. And, it's like a full circle moment. When I went to Seoul, Korea, he told me to go look at a bridge with some bullet holes in it. And I was like, what? And then I went and I looked, and the bullet holes, he said, occurred when he landed in Chan and he fought. It was just one of those things where I was like, I don't think I ever understood my dad as much as that moment. So that was deep for me. And then the other items, I think, on a lighter note, my drumstick collection up top. I don't know, like if you could see it, up there, drumstick collection, and then that little like range stick I got. But the drumsticks are from different. What's the restaurant where you? I forgot
Cafe.
the name of it. It's Hard Rock Cafe. Thank you, Matt. So traveling around, I've been lucky enough to travel around a little bit. And then actually the other one would be my Escher, Hands Drawing Hands, which there it says create yourself. And I think that's actually my life philosophy, create yourself, which is it's kind of like the unwritten song, right? Like you get a chance to create yourself every day. And if you can take that as a challenge, then it's good for you. And then the last thing I'll say is that this is the year of the snake. So we shed our skin and we become anew. So
Do you have a snake?
it's the year of the snake, and it's also the
Oh, no,
year
I
of
know.
my birth. So I am in the my understanding is
Chinese zodiac.
I am a snake sign.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a dragon.
Very.
Matt's a rat.
You know what? You know what? The sauces you select, it all makes sense. Yeah.
I'll share one item from behind me. I'm a part-time art teacher, and I teach grades 4 through 8. And yes, that does include middle school. So if you see some gray hairs, that's why. And in seriousness, it's my pleasure, and it's one way that I've been able to recreate myself in this stage of life. And it's a true honor and joy to be able to do that. So this is a cardinal done in pastel. I didn't do it, but I purchased it from an artist who I admired. And we have a lot of cardinals in our backyard since we're here in the south of Texas. So we get to see the artwork every day and then also the real thing, which is really fun. Yeah. Okay, guys, are you ready for the next question? Thank you for sharing your items. The next one's a hard one. This one was inspired by Paul Wyman's episode, excuse me, and he talked a lot about the inner team dialogue as well as polarities. And so I was wondering if after you listen to that episode, and hopefully now you could evaluate yourself and say, is there a part of your inner team dialogue that you're working on? Paul specifically shared that his expert self and his perfectionist self and his pusher self get in the way of him, of his goals, his career, and I really appreciated that humility, and I know you guys did too. He shared some other examples, how the polarities like responsibility and play, perfectionism and being messy, doing and being was one Matt chimed in on, and also he shared the head and the heart. Those polarities are interesting, and so I'm wondering, can you offer the listeners one that you as a coach are trying to be aware of, or you as a man, and how that's going for you?
Dave, you want to go first?
My imaginative self sometimes comes up with one more good idea at the end of working with people that it's not really time for it, but my imaginative self kicks in, and then to Paul's point of like how I orchestrate all those different pieces. I sometimes my advice to myself in orchestration is leave the last idea in my head. You don't need an oboe solo. at the end of an orchestra. Not everybody wants to hear it.
Mm. Okay, thanks, Dave. Matt?
Um, you know, I think I don't know what version of the self happens to be, but I think to sort of, there's something that oftentimes I'll say in a coaching session, and either like, it's not a perfectionist self, but there's something inside me that like, oh, that wasn't, I could have done this. Or it could have been that. I should have said this. Oh, I said too much. Like I've noticed that recently in my coaching, rather than kind of trusting the person to actually um, like make the meaning for themselves. And what I mean by that is, if we talked about something and at the end of the session, I want to know, so what was your takeaway from our time? Then that process allows them to say, oh, well, this is actually what really meant something to me. This was actually rather than for me to go, oh, well, hey, did you like that discussion around why am I talking? Or, oh, hey, did you, like, because I thought it was actually, I may have, it's actually putting myself in the coachee's perspective, and I really not, it's really about them. So I don't know what version of self that is. Maybe Paul can let me know. But yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a great lead in to one of the questions I was going to ask you, both of you guys, and whether it was Paul's book or a different book. Was there a resource that was recommended by one of the coaches that you actually went out and purchased and maybe have even read, or is there something that is in your Amazon cart ready to purchase that you heard about and you're eager to dig into if you haven't yet? I'll start with you, Dave.
I am I always have this always on belief that there's more content out there that I desperately need to digest. So when I hear books, I'm like, I'm constantly putting in my Audible. So I've listened to multiple books. And then I to your question, Allie, last night, like, I went back and I'm like, all right, if I pick one, it's a reread of Man's Search for Meaning, which is from Dr. J, Jacinta. And it reminded me how like we can make coaching and models and different pieces very complicated, but going back to purpose and meaning for people is so powerful, right? Purpose and meaning, logotherapy, just the belief that you can control that part of yourself. And I think we've gotten away from that in so many different levels of individuals, society. So that one was really impactful to me.
Matt, what about you?
Um, actually, the most recent, actually, I'm going to sort of give a little teaser. In season 3, there is somebody who recommended a resource, just an article by Ketz DeVries on the role of the coach, as sort of a, it's not a, I wouldn't say as a, what we get out of being the coach inside of the conversation. It actually, Ketz DeVries published it from INSEAD, and she had recommended it. I think she's episode 2 in season 3. So that was the one actually that was really interesting to me, because I actually found myself going, oh, you know what? I don't have personally like a fixer or like somebody that thinks I can, save or, have this deep need to actually fix or to be more than the coach or the sounding board for a coachee. But it was great to read it and to go, I could relate to some of those things, and it would be possible maybe in a different place and time that I would actually think that my role is my role as a coach is more than just to be that sounding board, that reflection, and that question asker. Was to actually like, oh, you know what? It's really important that I'm doing it and helping this person. I don't have that as much, but this idea, like, hey, that's where it could get, or maybe it will, or maybe I'll go in and out of, sort of an outsized role as a coach rather than just being that coach. So anyway, maybe Allie, you could share with Dave and I what was anything you want. You've listened to the episodes. What did you think? Is there anything that really sort of jumped out to you?
Right. So, I mean, as a non-coach, I'm listening for things that I can use in my career as a teacher. Also, I do some volunteer counseling as a layperson in my church. So, there are a lot of things that stood out. But I think in answer to your question, I told Matt this recently, Dave. Uh, I was particularly struck in Paul Wyman's episode toward the end. He talked about how he liked to share with maybe it's with his coaches, but he was referencing it more toward young people. And we have a 19-year-old and a 16-year-old. The 19-year-old's a boy, and the 16-year-old's a girl. And he mentioned about how he tries to encourage people to make sure they're finding a career that's a good fit for them. So that's fresh in my mind, thinking about that from his episode, because as parents, we have this, I think this stewardship, this responsibility to try and guide our precious children in the right direction. And even though he wasn't really speaking to parents, I took it that way because I'm eager for both of our kids to keep cultivating passions and also figure out during college, or as they're preparing for college, as they're in college, which passions do you pursue as a hobby and which passions do you pursue as an actual career. And it's just such a tricky time when you're 19, when you're 16, to be thinking ahead to the future. And so I think that's where my mind is. And so it was practical for me, but different probably than what most of the coaches heard.
Nice. Thanks. Dave, any reflections on reflecting on season 2?
My first reflection is, Allie, you're fabulous. And and also I appreciate actually asking us questions that we ask to others. That's really like it's really important. So my reflection is, I think more consistently, I want to ponder the questions that I ask others. Like I don't take that time for self reflection enough. That's one. And then the other thing is, we had we had a great like season of podcasts. I re-listened to them all of them yesterday, and there's so many insights and so many interesting things from each episode. And when I stopped listening to myself, which always it starts out and I'm like, okay, that's interfering, and then I listened to our guests and Matt, so many interesting insights. So thank you, and I appreciate your partnership, Matt. It really is like enriching my life and helping me be more on purpose.
Thanks,
So thank
Dave.
you.
Thank you, Allie. We just want to honor you for joining us on the podcast. You've listened to them all. You've watched us as we start. We really appreciate. We had our daughter, our first season 1 reflection. Now we're into season 3. So thank you for preparing, all that you did to prepare, and for coming on our time. You are fabulous. So
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. And we hope you listen in to season 3. Thanks for listening. If you love this podcast, please share it with another coach or leader. Make sure you go to the show notes to get all the resources from today's episode.